Hello, hello. Welcome back to Entering Operations, Episode 4, Terror from Beyond. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. I love Terror from Beyond. Terror from Beyond is one of my favorite operations. Right at the first boss, exactly. Um, so, as always, hello everyone in chat. Hey Thomas, hey Ducky, Arthanos, Vass, Joshua Washua. So, as always, we're starting off with hard mode. We're going to be talking about hard mode and story mode, Terra from Beyond, and then we'll be doing a timed nightmare run today, immediately following after hard mode. Bestest raid indeed, Claptrap. It's so good to see you again. So, as always, as well, if you have any questions for any of our experts, which I will be introducing to you in a short moment, please feel free to add them in chat. Mods will either, when am I going to do Nightmare God solo? February 31st. So, if you have any questions, type them in chat. My mods will direct my attention towards them. We'll be sure to direct them to the correct expert. So, without further ado, let's get started with Terror from Beyond. Hey guys, hey, how's it going?
Terrible.
Terrible? Is it just an absolute terror?
From Beyond.
Oh my god. There's nowhere safe.
There is nowhere safe. Exactly. All right, so I'm going to introduce the experts today. Yes, that was a bad pun, but I don't apologize for the pun. All right, Audria, my Sin assassin / shadow expert. How are you doing today?
Oh, great.
Doing good? Excited for Terror?
Yeah, finally one of the more interesting ops.
I love Terror from Beyond. Terror from Beyond is one of my favorite. So Aldria is our assassin shadow expert. How long have you been playing this class?
Since 2013, basically, as a main.
As a main, right on. So he's probably one of the best assassins that I've ever had the pleasure of running with. So thank you so much for being here today. Next, we have Bishop, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Bishop, he is my tank expert. He has played every single class of tank since... When did you start maining tank, my dude?
I don't know, 2.0.
2.0? What is your favorite class to tank on?
Jug.
Yug? I can approve.
As you can tell. I mean, not being on it right now.
Well, thank you so very much for being here today. Next, we have Kagi. Hi, Kagi. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
And Kagi is my Jug / Guardian expert. So, how long have you been playing Guardian Juggernaut?
I've been playing Jugs since
Launch. Wow. Not bad, not bad. What is your favorite spec to play?
Vengeance.
Best spec. Thank you so very much for being here. Next, we have Mandria / Groovy. Groovy, how are you doing? You AFK. AFK. Last week it was Kagi, now it's Groovy. Feels bad, man. Well, we'll come back to Groovy. Tom, how are you doing, hun?
Yeah, pretty good.
There he is.
Groovy is back.
Groovy is back. Well, Tom is one of my healing experts. He mains operative healer, primarily operative scoundrel. Oh yeah, my part-timers are always AFK, right? And how long have you been playing operative healer, Tom?
Only for this expansion. So
Really? What made you swap to operative?
Sork Sage was really boring, so I just had to learn something else. At least it was boring to me, because that's all I did for 4.0. Like, I had a billion Sages, and Sork's like, okay, I want to do something different.
You want to do something different. Well, operative is very different, but thank you so very much for being here today. And rotating back onto Groovy. Groovy, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. I'm DPSing today.
You're DPSing today. Groovy is my Merc / Commando expert. So if you have any questions regarding any of the 3 specs for Mando / Merc / Commando, this is the gentleman to ask. Then we have Wonder. Wonder, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm doing great.
Good. We are so happy to have you here. Wonder is our Sage / Sork healing expert. So if you have any questions regarding healing on a Sage or a Sork, This is the guy to ask. And then finally, today we have Zab, last but definitely not least. Zab, how you doing?
I am pretty good. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Zab is actually tanking for us, but he is our Sork Sage DPS expert. I don't think I've ever run with a better Sork than Zab. So if you have any questions regarding Madness, Lightning...
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Eritaz. He is the man
Thank
that...
you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I
Art
apologize.
has chain lightning every other time. No problem. I only proc my my chain lightning on lightning gold. If it's gonna be on thundering blast, I delay it.
You delay it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are too edgy, 5me, my fam.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to talk after this.
And then I'm Lady Ran. I main sniper gunslinger. So if you have any questions regarding snipers and gunslingers, please let me know. I also yes, I love this flare. Thank you very much. Anyway, so Terror from Beyond.
I'm pulling in 3.
Wrong. So Terror from Beyond, otherwise known as TFB, is the 4th raid here in Star Wars: The Old Republic. You have been tasked by your mission commander on either the Gav Daragon or the Zayas Shadow to figure out why the Grease suddenly are fleeing in droves from the ancient world of Assation. Something's going wrong. A big hypergate has appeared in Assation, and there's something coming from it, and nobody knows how to fix it. So that's why we're here. This is also the first instance where we hear from a very special group of antagonists that we will be talking about later, the Dread Masters. So, first boss is the Writhing Horror. Now, this boss is typically just really a tank and spank, but we're gonna go over. Let's start with tanks. Now, this is hard mode, but let's talk a little bit about story mode and hard mode. What are the big differences for tanking the Writhing Horror here?
I haven't done story mode in forever. I don't know. I'm serious. I'm pretty sure story mode.
You need a tank.
Swap.
So one of the things that the Writhing Horror does on tanks is put what is it? What's the word? Is it infest?
Impregnate.
Impregnate.
We get impregnated.
Yes, you get impregnated.
I don't like that as much.
We get the tanks will get impregnated by the boss to spawn larvae, and it can go up to 8 stacks, I believe, between tank swaps or between when the jealous male comes out to when the eggs actually spawn. So in story mode, there's no swap. So you don't have to worry about swapping tanks in story mode. In hard mode, however, that's when the swap actually starts to happen. It is prevalent in hard mode, and it's the mechanic in Nightmare. However, if you're playing an assassin or a shadow tank for Writhing Horror, tell me a little bit about some of the tricks that assassin tanks can do for Writhing Horror. Bishop and Zab.
You said for assassin?
Yeah, for assassin. What are some of the tricks that assassins can do?
For assassin, actually, hands-on the best class for this, because because you can stealth out when he or she, I guess, actually. She will, once you get to around 7 seconds, I think it is, or 8, she will spawn a male, basically. And once that happens, let's say tank swap there, if you stealth out while the flight text is out, it's a red text on your screen, it will basically not spawn any other ads apart from the male, meaning that you don't have to deal with ads or circles, basically skipping pretty much most of the mechanics here apart from just base tanking.
So jugs and power techs or vanguards and guardians really don't have those types of cheeses. The guest volume is very low. Thank you. I will be sure to turn them up. Thank you. So assassins are really, really good for cheesing this fight. Basically, all you have to do is just stealth out when you hear that lovely little gargling noise, and then the other tank will taunt, and you call it a day. So in story mode, they now please remind me in story mode. I know in Nightmare the position of the boss when they burrow is random, but in hard mode and in story mode it's
Have
Has a pattern.
Static. Yes, it's static. So do you want to talk to me a little bit more about tanking Writhing Horror? I mean, there's nothing really particularly big about this boss. It's primarily just a tank and spank.
There are ways that it can actually become a very hard fight, because if tanks are not doing their own thing properly, even though they're very simple mechanics, they can like absolutely destroy everyone. So the mail, if you put the mail near the ads, for example, those ads will get buffed and they'll do a lot of damage. And like basically they'll probably kill whoever's standing in the circle, and it'll get out of control. And once someone gets out of the circle, it's basically just enraged ads. So they'll just kill everyone.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about the circles here after in a little bit.
So you do not want to like put the ad and the mail, I guess, bad positions, because it'll like do a lot of damage. It'll knock people. It's just not nice. So just basically place it as best as you can.
Right. And now doesn't the Writhing Horror also does have a cleave, right?
It does. I believe it's it's like a like 80-degree cleave, something like.
Aim away from face.
Yeah, you just need to, as a tank, you need to just make sure that the boss is facing away from the group at all times. It's not necessarily like a physical cleave. It's the boss will spit, and that is what the cleave is. So, unless you want to go do laundry later on today, you want to make sure that the boss is faced away at all times. So, Bishop, do you have any specific niche things for Juggernauts, Guardians, Vanguards, Power Techs? Anything that you would like to talk about a little bit about tanking?
Since we're not going to be able to stealth out, we'll be getting ads every time we take it. So as a note, when you do have a sin in the group with our specific comp, or if I was on a jug, the idea is the sin tank pulls it first, so that the first and the third jealous male are not accompanied by any ads. The second jealous male will be the one where I'm the one holding the boss when it happens, so I'll be giving out whatever 7 or 8 stacks. So we'll have the ads. It's up to y'all to figure out, if you have 2 sin tanks, if you have 2 non-sin tanks, how you're going to be approaching the jealous male situation. This boss in the harder difficulties actually has potential to hurt a little. If you don't shield it, or if you're not getting good rolls, or in like 16-man nightmare, she can hurt like a bitch. So you need to be
it does hit very hard.
But the upside to being a jug or a power tech, if you're not stealthing out, like a power tech, for instance, has a very good cleave, so we can help kill ads if necessary, or we're good at stacking the jealous male on the boss. So like a PT can use hydras to not get knocked around. We're good at picking up the jealous male from 30 meters. We can just grapple it and bring it over. And since we can charge a lot, we can move with the boss as frequently as necessary, although sins can do that too. So it's not necessarily a huge advantage, but you're not really disadvantaged by being on a power tech or a jug at all.
You just have to be a little bit more proactive.
DPS like it more too.
Gotta fluff those numbers, right?
Yeah.
More fluff. All right. Well, thank you guys. Let's talk a little bit about healing. Wonder, Groovy, and Tom, talk to me a little bit about healing Writhing Horror. Let's start with operatives.
This fight's fairly easy to heal as an operative. It's not very dependent on positioning of the sorts. The main thing you'll want to do is you want to put nanites on the tanks and the melee. You want to do Culta waves on them, but that's really if anyone's taking any damage. A lot of the time you can just sit with the melee and DPS and just drop nanotech and Culta waves on cooldown while providing some dank healer DPS. If the group is really struggling, like we're taking damage from stuff, I don't know what you should be taking damage from, whether it's like the dot that goes out in hard mode and Nim that should be cleansed unless you've got DPS who are cheesing it.
No, you.
No, you. But yeah, for healers, it's mainly just dealing with cleanses. In Nim, we don't really care where we drop the puddles because people should know where to drop them and not drop them on, like, the wonderful flowers where the red puddles
So you
spawn.
don't want to drop down the flowers because that'll
Exactly.
be a bad day for whoever has to go to the color. If you have two that are like choosing the boss for no ads, then it doesn't matter. But if you do have
If you aren't
not
being
no
able to choose
sins,
the ads, you have to be very careful not to place them on the flowers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Uh,
But
Go ahead.
as an operative, it's mainly just sit with the melee, drop nanotech and Colto waves on them, probe the healers, or Colto probe the healers. Healers ranged that aren't in the cleave, tanks if they're really taking that much damage. But I mean, this fight isn't really heal intensive until burn, because
Right.
burn is where all the ads come out. One tank is like kiting them all around, and eventually someone does blow up and die because that's a thing for some reason.
When the boss dies, all the twisted spawn ads explode.
Yes.
Yes.
usually near me.
And it becomes, where is the healer? Can I get the ads to them?
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Wonder, talk to me a little bit about Sorkin Sage healing this boss.
So, like Tom said, it's a pretty easy fight for healers. Just make sure you have a Sork bubble on the tanks to reduce their damage, and you'll practically be fine the whole fight. Just save some energy for burn, and you'll be fine.
All right, thank you so much. So really, it's a relatively easy fight to heal. Kruvy, for Mercs and Mandos, Mercs and Commandos, is there anything in particular that they need to be aware of for this fight?
Yeah, there's one ability you're going to really want to be using a lot on this fight as a mercenary healer, and that's called Rapid Shots. And you're going to spam that a lot. I joke, but in all honesty, if you go ahead and shell everybody before the fight, you're more or less just going to be doing like Colto shots and Colto missile the entire time. Like, occasional emergency scan on the tanks, rapid scan on anybody. Like, it's not really healing intensive at all.
No.
Like, Tom said. So, I mean, I find myself off DPSing like as a merc healer like 99% of the time, whatever I do.
You're mostly
Like,
healed.
aside from Sister's Nim.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, thank
But
you.
That's about it. Oh, and that dot that Tom was talking about, you should technically cleanse it. But
Yes.
as a merc, you can pyro shield, and you can reflect that damage of the boss. It really serves no purpose doing that as a healer, but whenever you're playing like Arsenal or IO, you should never play Arsenal, but when you're playing IO, you can reflect that and get a little more damage in on the boss. But aside from that, nothing really going on.
So not very heal intensive for Writhing Horror. So let's go ahead and move on to melee DPS. So Audria and Kagi, talk to me a little bit about playing melee DPS for this fight.
So for positioning, pretty much as mentioned earlier, the boss has a cleave, so you want to make sure you stand behind the boss. The movement of the boss in hard mode is predictable, so just make sure you save some way to get to the boss, so you're not RP walking across the room when he moves, because that you lose uptime with that. As melee, you do want to avoid standing on these flowers, like especially the one that's right next to the boss right there. The other ones are not really near. The ones that are marked are the ones that are going to be near a boss, location. So when the boss is next to those, just don't stand on them, because when the jealous male spawns, those turn into puddles, and you'll potentially mess up the mechanic if you're standing on those. So other than that, there's not a whole lot that's special about this fight. As Assassin, I generally play Hatred for this fight unless the group desperately needs an armor debuff, because you can then get dot spread onto the Jealous Male, which should be stacked on the boss, and if you need to help kill ads, you can.
Very good. And Kagi, talk to me a little bit about Juggernaut's Guardians on this fight. Is there anything special that Guardians and Juggernauts need to be aware of? If he's even here.
No, they're not even special in this fight. They just do the normal rotation.
Just do the normal rotation. Well, you have good opportunity for dot spread, though, right?
Yes, with the ads, you can have a good chance to do dot spreads on the ads.
So otherwise relatively laid back.
Right. It's all we do is provide the armor debuff.
It's okay. You also provide us with moral support. It's okay, Kagi. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about range CPS, but we do actually have a question from chat. Would you generally say tanks are on an even keel on operation stat-wise in comparisons to others? E.g. Sin Darkness versus Guardian Defense, ability-wise.
What, in terms of like ability wise, as in like cheeses or like cooldown?
Or just the, from my understanding, the ability to actually perform at a nightmare level. Would you say?
Yeah, they're Jugs and Guardian. There's Jugs and Sins are pretty much on the same. Sins have a better quality of life in terms of being able to on demand mitigate more things. Shroud serves to reflect, or Shroud serves to like mitigate damage more often than Reflect does, especially in terms of AOE. Reflect makes up for that by actually adding more damage or DPS. Power techs can do everything too. They fall behind with the lack of a reliable cheese like Shroud or Reflect or Mad Dash. But we can make up for that either by making our co-tank or
praying really hard.
Energy Shield is actually a really good cooldown for a lot of things. Like many things that you can Shroud or Reflect, you just Energy Shield and like eat it. It's a very strong cooldown. That kind of gets underestimated or understated.
Probably one of the best DCDs and like hard DCDs in game, but
it is.
It
It's
has
similar.
very long.
It functions the same way as Overcharge. It's just the fact that PTs have more DR. That the additive energy is even stronger.
I think it gives you defense chance now. I think I believe. Maybe
That's
wrong.
explosive fuel.
X explosive fuel. Okay. Well, thank you.
You got to be a little more proactive on a PT, and you got to know like you can't blow everything because you kind of are starved in the sense that you don't have force speed or Mad Dash on demand. You kind of have to use everything correctly and know the fight.
So on a PT, you would say you have to be a little bit more in tune with both the class and the fight, rather than having the ability for just being able to cheese like a Sin or a Jug.
You need to be in tune with the fight on all three.
Well, yes, but a little bit more active on a Power Tech or a Vanguard.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I hope that answers your question. So let's go ahead and move on to range DPS. So as you can see, I'm playing a sniper right now. Really, honestly, range is super easy on this fight. I just sit there and I really just pew pew. I don't have to really worry about boss positioning or moving. One of the things, though, as a ranged DPS, you are going to be responsible a lot of the times for doing the puddles. So let's talk a little bit about puddles. So there is a replace target. So as you can see, there are these flowers here. Here, let's go ahead and mark them for you. So here, and here. So during the fight, when the jealous male spawns, there's going to be a red puddle that spawns on one of those three flowers. As a range, you are primarily going to be responsible, especially if you don't have any tanks with cheeses, to go in and soak. So what that means is that you're going to plant your happy little butt in here, and you're not going to move. For snipers, we're going to throw down in trench. Mercs and Mandos, hydraulics / hold the lines. Sorks, you're out of luck. So you're going to sit there and you're going to wait, and that's going to attract all of the little ads that spawn to your position in the red circle. In Nightmare, if you drop out of the circle, you get a debuff that doesn't allow you to go into the circle for the rest of the fight. So it is very, very imperative in the harder difficulties to make sure that you don't get knocked out of these circles until after the ads have been completely removed from the equation entirely. So other than that, there's really not a big special things for ranged here. Typically when there's going to be a cleanse that goes out, so you're going to get a yellow debuff on your bar that's going to start doing ticking damage, and it drops. Well, yeah, most of the time ads get deleted because of the.
Be surprised.
Yes, that's true. So whenever you do get cleansed, there is going to be a yellow circle that falls at the position where you have been cleansed. So as a ranged DPS, if the farther we can take them away from the group, especially in hard modes and nightmare, the better off we're going to be, especially if you have a melee heavy composition. If not, if your group knows what they're doing, knows how to do these fights, then honestly, most of the time I just sit there, wait for the cleanse, and then I roll out because I'm lazy. And I don't feel like moving, especially if I'm in the middle of a call. But other than that, there's really nothing huge for range DPS. Kruvy or Zab, do you have anything regarding Mercs and Mandos or Sorks and Sages that they need to be aware of as DPS?
Pretty much just like sniper, just sit in the middle of the room for the whole fight and never move, even if you're standing and stupid. You can like dot spread to the male most occasions because it'll be brought to the boss, so you don't have to even move for dot spread or anything. You just sit there and just kill it, and you're good.
I will say this. Looking at all of the ads that spawn, it can be very enticing to want to fluff a lot. And that may seem like a good thing, but I've been in many groups where we've actually wiped because people were prioritizing killing the ads over actually getting DPS in on the boss, and especially the jealous male. People tend to ignore smaller targets.
Yes.
Don't ignore smaller targets. Like, when you get into NIM level rating, like, burn on this is
the most important.
It's not hard, but when you have ads spawning because you have like the jealous male still up, or you have like all these ads around you, like you're gonna wish you had that DPS in on the boss. So
right.
Like,
so
if you're gonna kill the ads, kill them quick.
Kill them quick, exactly. And so that's one of the things. Like for this fight, if I wanted to, I would play engineering on this fight as a sniper because it does a really good job of deleting the ads relatively quickly. However, the comp that I'm looking at right now, so I have a Vengeance Juggernaut, a Hatred Assassin, an IO Merc, I would say, correct? And then I'm playing Virulence. So we have a whole bunch of dot sustain. We have a lot of dot spread in our group. So I'm actually not going to play engineering because I'm not worried about the ads. And that's one of the things that you'll need to think about as you start doing the harder difficulties, is looking at your group comp, seeing what they have, and then balancing out in that direction. So yeah, the ads are going to die really quickly, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to play a spec that focuses primarily on the boss. All right, so without further ado, let's get this bad boy started.
Wait, my key flew away.
Is your keyboard clean now, Zap?
Yeah. Good.
You're good. One of the things that I like to do as a ranged is, and this is typically a good practice for everyone, I like to keep the boss in my focus target, especially if I'm doing a lot of target swapping. Just so that way it's easier for me to pick it up. Dot spec. Okay, so dot spec for marksman. Okay, so dot spec is anything that has dots. So lethality, virulence, madness, hatred, vengeance. Yeah, vengeance is a dot spec. Annihilation, innovative ordnance. So anything that has primary damage that comes from dots. Marksman on a sniper is a single target burst. Dots equal damage over time, just as you'll hear HOTS, which is healing over time. All right, so if the group is ready, you'll hear a lot of your good tanks. If your tank is good, they're going to say on orbital, which if you have a sniper or a gunslinger in the group.
On my watch. 3.
Just do it.
2,
Wow,
1.
okay, I see how it is. So you pop raid buffs at the beginning. Usually that also means adrenals. All of that good jazz. Eating pizza. Best combination. Aw, I'm so glad to hear that. So as you can see, I've gotten the dot right here.
Forgot my DPS gear, man.
So there's the yellow circle that
reel and rattle.
that falls right there. So you just want to move out of it because it does do damage. So there's the first bounce.
I want to cleave me.
Oh, baby. All right, jealous male has arrived to defend his mate, and as you can see, the
tank's up here.
red puddle has spawned here on this flower. But since we have,
I took him first.
oh, you took him first. All right, so I'm gonna actually run into the red circle puddle here. As you can see, it says who has absorbed the calming pheromones, and
Automatically, we're gonna use.
the ads will automatically go to me. I pop hunker down, slash entrench once they're dead, and I'm out.
They didn't really get there.
They really didn't get there, but and then you just go back, and that's almost the entirety of the fight. As you can see, I have a debuff that says stale pheromones. You've been affected by the pheromones and cannot be affected again. Standing in another pool will damage you. So once you have that is not present. This is the hard mode version first, and then we'll be doing nightmare afterwards. In story mode, you don't have to worry about that. You can soak as many pools as you want, but in the harder difficulties, you can only do it once per person per fight.
Are there even ads in story mode?
Yes, there are ads in story mode.
I think you Phantom Stride very cool.
Ruin rattle.
We are getting ready to go into burn. Burn starts
Oh,
at
yeah?
15%. Yeah, I know, right?
We're in burn already.
Oh, we're so cool. So, as a sniper, as you can see, you have little spawns that have been that have shown up, and they explode once the boss is dead. But we still do have the jealous male to kill, so we're just gonna go ahead and just get rid of that real quick. Burn starts at about 15%. Ads are difficult in this fight. No. They will, however, explode upon the death of the boss. So I have seen people lose their surviving Chivos specifically due to being too close to a group of ads when the boss dies.
Oh yeah, as a
Definitely.
as the tank who doesn't have the boss, you're the one you're supposed to be rounding them all up. Sins and jugs can reflect the big or shroud the explosion at the end. PTs are SOL.
Yes, that was the first boss.
Technically, you can explosive fuel.
Oh my god.
Would
I
I
just
ti-
run, dude. I just run away. You know, like I don't worry about that.
So here's another question. Would we typically always do burn at 15%? You usually do it much higher in other ops. Honestly, it depends on the fight. Some fights, so Bronte's burn is a completely different phase. And then she's at 50%. So it honestly really just depends on the fight. There's no static.
Will have different burns.
Yep.
For example, that fight on Nightmare usually burn actually would start around 20.
Yep.
Because once we get to about 20% is when we want to make sure that there's no yellow's mail when we go to burn, because that'll just be too much damage to deal with.
Yep.
And we'll probably cause a wipe because there's other types of ads that only spawn during burn that do like dots and massive AoE damage to everyone. So if we have too many things out, that's just gonna be too much for the healers and the tanks.
So we are on our way to the Dreadguards fight, which is the second boss fight here in Terror from Beyond. And as you can see, there's a special type of trash that spawns here. They're called the Hypergate Vortexes. There are some other not so pretty names that we're not going to talk about for these things. But they do AoE pulsating damage, and as a DPS, it is your first priority to get the Hypergate Vortexes down before anything else. I have seen groups actually wipe to these trash ads. Yes, and we're not going to talk about the other names for those.
They do way more damage than any of the bosses do.
Yep, that's true.
I mean, when you said pulsate, I just went right back to thinking about it, so...
I know.
I don't know.
I am aware. Pew pew pew. I love Dreadguards though. Dreadguards is one of my favorite fights.
Indeed.
I'm tanking it and then the healers let me die.
I mean,
It's usually the healers killing you.
Our way to heal you.
I think it's more the latter.
More like letting me die. Healing me.
Okay, so for this,
Calming execute.
for these guys, a lot. There's going to be two different types of strategies for these little ads right here. Some groups will just pile them up here in the middle. Other groups will say to bring them to the very end.
I don't
of
know why you'd ever do that.
I don't know why either. It used to be a thing back in like 2.0 and 3.0. You would bring all of the ads out here. Yes.
There's no reason to have ever
There's no
done that
reason.
in any patch.
I am fully aware. Hey guys,
Skipping a boss.
we're not skipping a boss. We're gonna kill the frog.
Slippery slap.
Slippery slap. So this guy, he's a mini boss. He used to be widely killed for he used to drop a lot of credits, though why a frog has a whole bunch of credits is completely beyond me.
But
Lot-
they've nerfed the credit drop, and
So nobody
inflation's
kills-
a thing.
Yeah, so nobody kills him anymore.
See ya!
He kind of hits hard, in all honesty. He hits hard.
Oh, I'm supposed to heal this?
I would have
that's a
appreciated
dump.
it.
All right. Is this a hard op to heal? We have someone in chat who's looking to start healing more in operations. So where would you categorize Terror from Beyond and the difficulty of healing?
I would put this as like the beginner nim op for healing. As far as like
There's
Red
one
Guard.
fight here that will absolutely not be for beginners. That's Dread Guards.
Yes.
It'll be very, very difficult to heal if you're very new to healing, and it's quite a ramp up like compared to the art fight. It's the healing output you have to do, and just the amount of like awareness you have or need. It's very high. Definitely that one fight at least is very healing intense.
Is very healing intensive, but I will say, like, as a raid leader, typically Terror from Beyond is how we introduce new Nightmare Raiders to Nightmare.
yeah, I mean, Dread Guards is really the for new healers, Dread Guards is the can I trust this healer to heal me in Nim type of check. It's like, do they know what they're doing type of deal. I don't say EC is the beginner because of like just some of the mechanics in it, and Kephess being a troll because no, Kephess kills two people. Like in the previous episode, like if Kephess kills two people, he just enrages and goes oof everyone.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't recommend that as a beginner nim. Like, I don't know, TFB, it has a good range of mechanics to learn as a healer, though you ignore most of them, but you have to be aware of them to heal DPS through it.
I mean, if we're talking about real beginner Nightmare operations, my favorite is always EV Nightmare to bring anybody into, but since that's no longer a thing.
But I mean, let's be serious. EV Nightmare never qualified as a real nightmare.
Yeah, you're right. So, Karaga's Palace Nightmare.
No.
Yeah, you're right. It was really just glorified
EC
hard
and up
modes.
are
Yeah.
the only ones that actually qualify, in my opinion.
The other reason why I like TFB as a beginner nim op for healers is because there's a really high, you need a really high output for Dread Guards, and then there is an individual responsibility on Op 9.
Yep. Kagi,
Oh, thank goodness.
you coming back, Ken?
Yeah, I never got a res from the front. though.
Glad I risked you.
I'm
Sorry.
gonna solo tank this.
Okay. All right. So Dread Guards, Harad, Cyphus, and Kelsara.
And Kephess!
And Kephess. Kephess is later though. I love the Dread Guards. This is a very interesting fight in the sense that each three of these bosses have different mechanics that are applicable to them and only them. So Harad is basically a lightning sword. Cyphus is a marauder. Kelsara is an assassin. So each one of them have a different mechanic that we all need to be aware of in different phases. This is also considered what would be a, yes, we have to fight all three of these bosses at once. But we focus one at a time. So this is considered a council fight as you have more than one boss. So there's going to be different phases. One is Harad, 2 is Cyphus, 3 is Kelsara. They have a, it's not a shared health pool. However, once you kill one, the other two or the other one's health goes all the way back up to full. So you don't really want to, you're not really worried about the health of the other bosses. All right, talk to me about tanking. Talk to me about tanking, because this is a big tank heal fight. So talk to me a little bit about tanking Dreadguards.
The idea
Go ahead.
is so a lot of people when they're first starting out will keep them like separated for some reason. In the higher levels of rating, you want to keep Cyphus and Kalsara. What we're going to be doing is stacking them on Herod. You want to be adding your tank DPS to Herod, whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Sure. We're adding our tank DPS to Herod to push him faster, because it is a bit of a DPS check. The DPS check will be explained a little later. But tanks are supposed to be adding their damage while keeping aggro of their respective ones, Cyphus or Kalsara. With this comp that we have here, Sin PT, PT is going to be on Cyphus. Sin's going to be on Kalsara, as Cyphus is heavier on white damage, save for 1 dot. Kalsara has more, like Force Tech, and as Sins have the higher internal elemental damage reduction and just better overall for holding Kalsara. They can shroud more. So that's going to be how we're going to split it up. So the first phase, we're going to be tanking them all stacked up, hitting her, kicking his ass. I don't want to go into lightning field.
In story mode, there is a mechanic that Herod does called lightning. In hard mode and nightmare, there is a mechanic called lightning field that is done during the Herod phase. This is not present in story mode, so you don't have to worry about it. But in the harder difficulties, lightning field, he will start channeling. He will yell out the force. What is it like? The force commands we obey, or
the master's command.
The master's command we obey.
No, that's not it.
No, it's not. Well, we'll hear it here in a
Hold on.
second. Okay, we got to figure it out now.
The master's command, the force obeys.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. The master's command, the force obeys. So at that voice line, everyone needs to separate between, 10 meters away from the next person?
Depends.
It depends. So, like, as a sniper, I'm going to sit right about here. If you have another ranged, you want them right about here. Healers, you want kind of spread out. And then you're going to have your melee DPS, so we have 2. We're going to have them over there. And then the tanks are going to be around here. So you want people to spread out because it is an AoE. And if you're close to another person, they're going to take more damage. Now, there are cheeses, like as a sniper, I'm going to entrench in shield probe or entrench in invasion, or if you're feeling particularly daring, you're going to roll it. But I like to save my roll because I'm not very good at rolling. Assassins can just, if you have a cheese, you can stack on the boss. So if you're an assassin, if you're, Jugs and warriors can mad dash. Or Blade Blitz. Operatives, if you're a concealment, you can roll it. Lethality.
If not, it sucks.
Yeah, lethal is an operative if you're lethality, which is you should be on this boss. You're gonna have to stack out. Sworks, just bubble yourself and Cloud Mind. Call it a day.
Natural vigor.
And a natural vigor, and then you're good to go. So, let's talk a little bit about tanking Cyphus and Kalsara. So you said that we're putting the assassin tank on Kalsara, and we're putting the you can't play lethality because you have to roll doom. Gotcha. So talk to me about tanking Cyphus.
Cyphus, first of all, we have a PT in here, so you can, if you have a PT, you can play whatever you want.
Because rebounders.
So first of all, as a power tech, since I'm not on a Sin or a Jug, I'm gonna have to run away for Lightning Field. So I'm gonna be a little bitch and hide over here. And in Nightmare, I like to cycle Shield Adrenal and then Energy Shield for 1 and 2, respectively. But Cyphus, I guess he has a cleave. I've never cared about it, but I guess he does. Yeah, so
they balled through.
Yeah, I've never cared. So when you're stacking on Herod, you want to make sure that he's facing away from everyone else. So that's very easy. Just make sure he's doing that. We're going to keep going back and forth. Cyphus will go into a bubble with Herod a couple times. I think it's 2.
Two
No,
if
it
your
should be
DPS
2.
is good.
Yeah, same with Lightning Field. 3 if we're not that great. And then when he does that, you want to be, again, hitting Cyphus, helping DPS it, and then interrupting as soon as it's available to interrupt. And that way he'll break it, and then he'll come back to you, and you want to get back on Herod and start hitting him again. It's nice at this point because we get a little damage break, and we stop taking damage for a little while. Kelsar doesn't have that luxury. So then we do that, and we're done. Rinse and repeat till Herod dies, and then Cyphus on Kelsar. We're gonna run around. I don't want to talk about that. Zeb, you want to take over?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess for Gosar as a base on this or in the start, it'll be very similar to Cyphus, except you will not have a break from tanking. You have to tank full time, breather when he's on his shield. So you can either just keep face tanking her, or what I like to do is I'll actually force speed around while he's on the shield, so she can't actually hit me at all.
Is there Forge
And then
Lease in
just
story
start-
mode? There's no Forge Lease in story mode, right?
There isn't. Not in story mode, in hard mode and nightmare.
Hard mode and nightmare. Okay.
Basically, once the bosses are dead, there are different. Once Herd is dead, there will be 2 different ways of doing the tank swaps. Some people do tank swap on choke, some people do tank swap at stacks, around 5 stacks, or just on choke. It honestly depends what both tanks are comfortable with. In the end, it basically is the same amount of damage taken. It'll just depend how you use your DC.
So, once Herod dies, then we're going to move on to the Cyphus phase. So the Cyphus phase, as DPS and healer, so ranged DPS and healers are going to stack here. The reason being is that we start dropping green circles, which if you eat a green circle before a specific mechanic comes, you're going to take a dot, and that's not very good. In the harder difficulties, you want to try to avoid eating as many circles as possible. But in story mode, not really that big of a deal. But you just typically want to make sure that you just try not to eat as many as you can, because Cyphus does a mechanic called Doom. So he's going to doom a specific player. In story mode, it is in story mode, Doom exists. You get 2 stacks of Doom. In story mode, 6 stacks of Doom. In hard mode, right? 6 stacks of Doom, or is it 4 stacks of Doom in hard mode?
2, 3, 6.
2, 3, 6. Thank you. 3 stacks of Doom in hard mode, and then 6 stacks of Doom in nightmare. Thank you very much for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about cheeses for Doom. Lots of raid teams bring people that have cheeses for this fight specifically because of Doom. Lots of sorcerers, snipers, sins, mercs, commandos, the ones that can every class except for power techs and operatives can cheese Doom in one way or fashion. If you have more than one power tech, you can rebounder each other, and the rebounder will save. You don't have to worry about that. Concealment operatives can roll it. Same with snipers. Snipers can roll it. Lethality operatives cannot. So if you're one of those classes that cannot reflect, cheese, or otherwise basically negate Doom, you're going to have to eat any of the green circles that correspond to the amount of stacks that you have. So in story mode, you'll have to eat 2 circles. Hard mode, you'll have to eat 3. Nightmare, you'll have to eat 6. Aside from that, though, for ranged, that or cry, yeah, that's true, and just hope that your battle res isn't on cooldown. Okay, so as ranged DPS and healers, we are going to stack back here because the tanks are going to start kiting Cyphus this way.
Not there.
Not there.
Okay, fine. Then, you know what I mean. In that area. Sorry.
Well, it's important.
Okay,
It's
here.
actually important, yes.
Okay, fine.
You don't stand there, because if you drop a green circle there, when the tanks get lead, we run, and we don't need that. It's getting in the
Misclick.
fucking way.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a big misclick.
Misclick. Sorry about that.
That is a life and death misclick. Okay?
Blow for all operatives that comes from evasion doesn't work. Is that correct?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it doesn't actually mitigate the damage.
No. So you need something like Merc Reflect, Sniper Roll, Rebounders, Shroud.
You can reflect it, but it will still kill you. It'll just do a lot of damage
Right.
to the boss.
Exactly. So as you can see, aside from my horrible little misclick with the DPS marker, as you can see, that is the tanking pattern for Cyphus for hard mode and nightmare difficulties. As ranged and melee, ranged and healers, we're gonna follow behind them as we're dropping green circles. And you'll see that here once we pull the boss. We're gonna be dropping the green circles starting in that area, and then so right behind Harad. Yeah, I remember that. Way back in the good old days when Juggernauts and Guardians got reflect for the first time, there was no damage cap, and people could reflect Doom, and it would global Cyphus. It was pretty hysterical. They patched that real quick, though. It was great.
Sins in very early 5.0 had the same thing till they patched it. There were so many broken things with reflect at the beginning of 5. Oh, operative too. Yep.
Operative and Mercs too, right? Yep. Exactly. So, nothing huge here, except for Cyphus. In the harder difficulties, Cyphus will charge to a player and start to strangle them. You need to interrupt immediately, because in the nightmare difficulty especially, it will 3-tick out a player. So you especially, or 1 or 2 tick. So definitely need to watch out for that as a DPS. It's primarily going to fall to the range because
It's about health, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was about health. Like it goes to the lowest, does he not?
Mechanic.
No, it's distance.
Range?
It's distance, yeah.
It's distance, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
So
biggest.
when Pebble got rezzed on his op and then he got strangled immediately,
It was too
that
far.
had nothing.
It was too far.
It's
He was
kinda-
far away, so he was viable to
Well,
target, and he just got bad RNG.
It's kind of random. So basically, it'll, I guess, see who's furthest, and if multiple people are far, it'll just kind of roll and pick one.
Pick one. Yeah, and he just got the unlucky RNG roll. So, moving on to Kelsara. Now, in the harder difficulties, if you're we have a specific amount of time for Cyphus, otherwise we start spawning ads with Kelsara, correct?
No.
No?
That's
By-
just cleave.
That's the cleave.
It's by HP. So if Kelsara goes under 75%, ads will spawn. I believe Kelsara will soften rage.
It will be a
and
soft and
then
rage. Okay.
You
So
will
we
have to kill the ads quickly.
Yep. So if you have a lot of dot specs, as our comp does, you just need to be careful about your dots being on Kelsara, especially if she's stacked with Cyphus during the Cyphus phase, because as you heard, once she goes below 75%, she's going to start spawning ads, and that's a little bit of a soft and rage. So you want to just make sure to avoid that. If you do get those, just immediately swap to the ads, kill the ads, and then move on with your life. So Kelsara. Kelsara is the last person to kill in all difficulties. Typically, you're going to bring Kelsara to around this area. In the harder difficulties, so in hard mode and in nightmare, the tanks are going to be given a mechanic called Force Leech. So the person who has Force Leech is going to take it around this area, because they're going to try and stay away from any AoE heals, such as Revivification, Progressive Scan, Cultal Waves, Nanotech, Wandering Men. You just want to make sure you don't get hit with any heals, because any heals that you get will cause you damage and will heal Kelsara. There have been many, many times where a tank has died because of heals.
Tell me
during that.
about it.
So
Sork buff counts, by the way.
Sork
Yeah,
buff
also,
counts.
raid wide, and also if you bubble a tank, it'll also probably kill him because that bubble, if that bubble breaks or falls off, it'll heal whoever has it on, being the tank, and therefore they'll get global.
So
Or any Maras.
or any Mars.
Also do, or if you're Madness and you're tanking, not that I've done this before.
Sounds like an interesting story.
I need to hear this story eventually. So healers need to be very careful about going into the Kelsara phase. Tell me how do you determine who is getting Force Leech as a tank?
Whoever has her when Typhus dies.
So once, right, so the first one, it'll be whoever had aggro, I guess. After that, it'll basically go to whoever had aggro before the cast, I guess, the noodle. You can, if you're quick, you can taunt like right after it ends and get it, or you have to be spamming it. But otherwise, normally it'll go to whoever it was when he started casting that.
So, but that is what is a tank swap. So big tank
Correct.
swap there.
Correct. Yes, you need a tank stop, or you can kite him in circles across the whole room, which I've done before. Not ideal.
The Benny Hill theme intensifies during those moments. All right.
Solo tanking Kephess.
It is like solo taking Kephess, exactly. So for ranged, question from chat. Wonder what happens when what happens if a healer gets the Force Leech?
If a healer does get a Force Leech, they can't heal anyone during that time for some reason. But you can crit abilities for 0 and restore energy that way, because the game's good. But it shouldn't happen.
I like that you know this, and I'd like to know what happened in that team or in that group.
Same.
The point where you had Leech.
I would like to know it as well.
Dead tanks.
So
is what
for
happened.
It's
so
bad
for
DPS.
DPS and healers, we're going to stack on Kelsara -1. Usually it can be a sniper or it can be a healer. We're going to stay out because we're going to bait an ability called Wither. Wither is an AoE ability that in the harder difficulties does quite a bit of damage. So you want one person out of the stacked group to bait the Wither, so it only goes on one person instead of like 6 or 7 people. Also, Kelsara will do a marked for death mechanic, which will target the farthest person within a 30-meter range. If, as a sniper or a gunslinger or a lightning sork or a telekinetic sage, you're staying out about past the 30-meter range, you're not going to get targeted. So, you'll want to, if you are the one that is responsible for, being the marked for death target, you'll want to make sure that you're within that 30-meter range. So you're going to get a tether, so a big kind of lime green, kind of neon, sickly yellow green line is going to go from Kelsara to the person who's been marked for death. You're going to be slowed. So if you have a Mara or Sentinel with Predation or Transcendence, great time to use it there. As a sniper, if I get it, I have countermeasures, and then I have the seek cover talent that whenever I leave entrench, and then I have the reestablished range. Those are both movement speed abilities. So I'm just going to pop those, hunker down, roll. So any movement speed abilities, you just want to make sure that you're as far away from her as possible, because if she touches you in the harder difficulties, or if that tether comes to a complete close, you can get one shot depending on your health pool. It doesn't hurt quite as much in story mode or in hard mode, but typically it's good practice to avoid getting hit with that mechanic, or getting hit with that.
Can reflect it
You
if
can-
let it get close.
Yeah, if you can reflect it with Merc Reflect if it gets close. Shroud.
Be sure to get out way before it runs out.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you pop Reflect before it gets there, though. So, other than that, anybody have any good hints, tips, tricks, survival guide type of for any role here for Dread Guards?
See ya, kid.
So, one thing for taking the leech, as pretty much in the class. So, well, it's assassin mainly. You can shot it, or you can stealth it out, but you have to be good at knowing how to stealth it out. You have to stealth out. You either have to like cloak and taunt, so it goes to you, or you gotta stealth out right after it goes out, even though it might still hit you. It'll at least save you from being healed and dying. So if you have showered up or reflect and you get a heal, it will not kill you. You will persist. Another thing for tanking, I guess, called Sara. I guess Cyphus too is that, like Bishop said earlier, Cyphus is mostly white damage, so if you have stuff like Deflection, Saber Ward, those will be the most effective against Cyphus. If you have abilities that give you DR, like or assist, like Shroud, like Overcharge, and I guess like an Invincible, or what's it called? Energy Shield, those will be most effective against Sara, because you cannot defend those. Although she does have some white attacks.
Hey, Kagi, you coming back, hun? Kagi,
Thing is dead.
Yes.
are you coming back, dear?
Yeah.
Did you AFK too long and get logged out?
Yes.
So a couple other things I want to throw in there too. When you, in terms of leech on a jug, you can reflect, and if you're comfortable with your healers, have them heal you for the duration of reflect, and you'll be doing a lot of extra damage. But at the very least, you can reflect or mad dash the cast to take no damage from it, and any heals that are accidentally going out at that time too. For tanking during the Harad phase, like on a jug, what I like to do is after Cyphus's bubble, when they're all back in mid, I like to use, intimidating roar, so it's helping me and my co-tank out on Kelsara. Or, if I'm on Kel, it helps them out with Cyphus. Stuff like that, just... Oil Slick is good too, because you want it as you're getting to the higher stacks, you're taking more damage. So having kind of those group-wide deflections, mounting darkness is also useful, although it's not nearly as on demand. So little puddles like that are always helpful, because there is a mix of a damage profile on each. Did we talk about going counterclockwise as tanks during
No, I talk about
that. Okay, talk about that while we get Kagi back here.
It's pretty simple. We go counterclockwise once Harad dies, and that's in the order of green circles. We want to have some space for people to drop their circles and move up. So we're not, tanking them on the edge of the last green circle that was dropped. We're tanking a little bit ahead so that there's space between, the bosses and then the most recent green circle that was dropped up to 12. Yeah, thanks. That helps a lot. So we try and make sure that there's space for people to drop, and then we move up respectively as the circles are getting dropped. I guess there's only 3 in hard mode?
Yeah.
Or something.
You only need 3 to clear Doom, and there's no red circles, so having green circles up at the end of Cyphus phase is irrelevant.
Epic.
So,
honestly.
So in Nightmare, one of the reasons that you want to try, you tend to bring a lot of classes with a cheese or a reflect for Doom, is because if you have less than 12 green circles in Nightmare, Kelsara will spawn red circles, which are awful. They're the exact same, and you have to have a green. So if you get a red circle dot in Nightmare, you have to eat a green circle in order to remove the dot. So it adds an additional level of mechanics, especially if you're struggling with raid awareness as a group. And this is already such a small arena. We're gonna cover that a lot more in Nightmare, but we're gonna go ahead and see if we are ready to pull. I do know somebody had to bounce out for a quick second. I want to hear more about the rooster. I want to no.
Oh, for warriors doing lightning field, if you're gonna mad dash, know that it's on the global cooldown, so give yourself time. See that if lightning field has 1.3 seconds left, don't try and do another another GCD, because then you're gonna die. Alright, give yourself some time.
For assassins, you can just shroud it if you have the long shroud. If you have let's say you don't have the normal shroud, or let's say you don't have the long shroud with the utility, you will have to time it so it you don't pop it and then runs out actually when it blows up, and then you just take all the damage. So you gotta time it well. If you have the long shroud, you can pop it with like 4 seconds left on the channel, and you'll be good.
We're gonna go. I'll just be sure. Okay. I know. We'll be okay, right?
Hungry.
You're hungry. Well, you can grab something to eat while we clear trash for the next boss.
That'd be great, cause no breakfast, no nothing.
It's not my fault you woke up too late.
It sure is.
It is. It's just too early. I don't get up in the morning. We should be okay, right?
I mean, we could talk about healing this fight, but I think
it's better to
Zab
watch.
I think Zab would have PTSD from healings.
Cinco months.
Yes. All the horrible.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. What are you planning on getting for breakfast / lunch / dinner?
Taco.
Tacos!
Yes. Yeah, I got I think my mom cooked some baked rice, and I don't even know what those are called in English, to be honest.
Say it in Spanish.
Coditos, like you might know them. I don't know.
Welcome back.
And I think that's turkey. I don't know.
All right.
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Juan.
Whoever just like translocated me, I'll kill your entire family.
So you just threatened 2 people in chat at once.
Usually, for like tanking this, you wanna do your opener on
All right.
your respective tank, and then you will just taunt and then move back to Herod to do DPS.
I'll grapple, and then after every circle, after he comes out of his bubble here, I do a taunt, then I just get back.
So as you can see, Herod had a invulnerability barrier that actually reflects any damage, including dots, done to him. And Cyphus is the one that channels, so you have to tunnel on Cyphus until you're... so here's Lightning Field. It will slow you in Nightmare. Are we going to kill it before the Lightning Field goes out?
Come on!
Sexy.
What actually is Lightning Field?
What actually is Lightning Field? Find out later.
I'll just hold Kel. No, can you AoE taunt?
Yeah. I can...
So there's the first of the green circles.
I'm at 8.
As
Oh no, I took a screenshot. Shit.
So he leapt to one of the healers and strangled. So that means I had to stop what I was doing and interrupt because that was more important. Wondershun has been doomed, but Wondershun isn't really worried about it because he has Sork Barrier.
The only person worried about it is me.
Yep. But I think we
And
should...
Bishop.
And Bishop, that's true.
No.
You can't get
Except
it,
tanks don't get it unless there's a meme.
You just thought that you can get it, but not likely, because you would need to not have aggro for a long.
So as Sorks and Sages, you can just do Force Barrier. I've got it next. I hope we kill it before I have to
That's
worry
what's
about it.
coming.
We're gonna get ads here.
Epic.
All right, so ads have spawned, so we're just gonna quickly.
I'm gonna AoE taunt. Get signed.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You are dead.
A rage fence, or suffer rage, I mean. Same thing.
Should have been in for that AoE taunt. First leech is going on, like say it.
So as you can see, I rolled Doom as a sniper. So. Hi, Marks. No, this is not story mode. This is hard mode.
Everyone stack on the sniper.
Yep, stack on me.
All the circles.
Or how about I just stack on you guys?
Get away from me!
I actually want something to heal. Why are you eating all the green bubbles?
You don't need them.
Wondershun, marked for death.
I know.
Run, Wonder! Run, boy!
Did he get...
He got translocated.
get deleted. They have no health.
I couldn't even finish getting an orbital strike before they were at half health.
Cleared everything.
I dare you to do that on me.
On cooldown.
Yeah, so is my roll.
Why do I even bother dotting these?
Nope, it started quick. You have like no HP at all. Nice. What a slick.
Stop one. No! I have explosive fuel. You can't hurt me. Stop! No! What did I do to you?
I wonder what. Just by the way, if she dies and you still have the tether.
I don't want your res.
What?
Told you.
It doesn't do anything. It
Oh!
doesn't do anything. There's no damage source remaining.
Ugh. So lame.
I told you. Whoever translocated me was gonna die.
Not before I got another one.
Alright, Zap, go grab some food. We'll take it on from here.
Go.
Okay, bye.
What actually is lightning field?
Right. So for this set of trash going up to Operator 9, we need to focus the data cores first because they spawn the robots. And then you focus on the exogenesis inhibitor because once he goes below 20%, he's going to put a shield out on all of the remaining droids in the area until he dies.
Frames are set.
Thank you very much.
No.
No, no you.
No.
I like orange.
But who am I going to do the Elsha stat with?
Oh, I
You're
hate
gonna,
that
you're gonna
strat.
AoE Tom while you're trying to deflect?
Yes.
I despise that strat.
Hollow traversing to the cores is a bad idea. Yes, because of those lightning fields. So the cores have cardinal, so north, south, east, west lines, as you can see here. They do damage to you. Try not to stand in them. Who am I calling trash? No, I'm not calling you guys trash. I'm calling these things trash.
You can reflect them.
You can reflect, but, you know, nobody cares about your ad trash numbers. No offense.
Just try to reflect it, trust me.
It also makes a really great zapping sound.
Yep. We're gonna kill the money boss.
There's a money boss here?
Mm-hmm.
I've not killed this like, since 3.0.
I am aware. We're gonna do it anyway.
there's no point to
All
killing
right,
this
so
3.0.
in here there is what used to be referred to as the money boss. It got nerfed when they nerfed all of the money bosses, but you know, if you ever feel like you really want to clear out TFB, you got to know how to clear this guy out in case somebody accidentally goes the wrong way too. So it's just a bunch of trash, really.
If we really want to
Spin
clear
to win.
TFB, we'll have to go find our masks.
Yes!
And, 8 other people.
Yes, with the masks. Hey, I did a dreadful entity. You were there with
I
me.
think we did that together.
Yeah, we did that together, and it was really easy. Like, that was probably one of the smoothest dreadful entities I've run in a long time.
What was that with the
That is true. It was with failure.
Almost like people are overgeared.
Yeah, I know. What a surprise.
That's not it.
Carry you
That
in
could
dreadful.
never be Does that mean we're gonna do Hateful at some point?
Probably not on stream.
No.
Unless there's an overwhelming response for us to do Hateful and Dreadful.
Dreadful, fine. Hateful.
Hateful is a pain in the butt. So anyway, he doesn't really
Hateful
drop.
is so easy.
This guy doesn't really drop a lot of money anymore, but he does drop a crystal of a different color. I think it's black orange, and then it can either be eviscerating, Hawkeye, indestructible, or
Bet you don't know it.
war hero.
Damn it.
Damn it.
I am disappointed.
So in this room, as DPS, we need to focus on the cores first. One of the strats.
Can you yoink this one on me?
One of the strats that you can do is have your tanks and your healers hide here. So everyone hides here in this corner. You have one of your tanks run in, aggro all of the droids, and then everybody stacks here. All of the droids will come to the tanks and the healers here, and then all of the DPS move out and start aggroing the cores and killing the cores as fast as they can. I haven't seen that strat done in a very long time, but just be aware that that is it used to be a very, very common strat in pug groups. So I don't know if that's still a big thing, but just be aware that that is.
Can't be bothered
Just
to
do it
wait.
the hard way, honestly.
Just do it the hard way.
Healers are generally overpowered.
Happy
so
420 day, says chat.
Just get good at tanking and get the ads together.
I thought you were going to get food.
I did, I already ate.
What?
He just inhales. Zab, the human garbage.
The human grouch.
Look, man, as a gamer, you have to learn how to, like, do things at the same time. Can't wait,
Yeah, I know, right?
Chat
Tag
was
running doesn't just mean games.
You can't just, like, eat and not do anything else.
There's a few like tanks I know who I wish could learn to AFK and pull a boss at the same time. Like,
Oh, Operator 9. Okay, so as you can see, you've got 4 panels. Blue, orange, purple, and yellow. Our raid frames have been separated according to color. I'm going to actually increase my raid frames so you can kind of see. So, the top 2 and the harder difficulties, so in story mode, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as you have 2 people per color. In the harder difficulties, so hard mode and nightmare, you're going to want to follow this particular pattern. 2 DPS on blue. Usually your strongest DPS you want to put on blue because it is the longest channel.
It's more about melee.
More about melee?
Yeah,
okay,
ideally
so
melee.
melee. All right, it used to be the strongest DPS would go on blue, but now it's more if you have different types of melee, so you want your melee on blue. Hardmare sounds, yeah. Well, they used to consider Temple of Sacrifice and Ravagers because there's not a nightmare mode. They used to consider that hardmare.
And I believe Gods was
A hardmare as well.
classified by
Yep.
that, yeah.
Yep.
No, it's not.
Now it's not. So you want 2 melee DPS on blue. You want a tank and a DPS, preferably arranged, on orange. A healer and preferably arranged, another DPS, on purple. And then on yellow, you want a tank and a healer. The reason you want a tank and a healer on yellow is because that is the fastest channel. And in Nightmare, you have to DPS the cores inside evenly. Otherwise, it will wipe the group. So you want to make sure that all 4 of your DPS are available to kill the cores on yellow phase rather than having a DPS stuck in the middle. So I am orange, so I'm going to click that orange tablet right there, and welcome to Operator 9. I love Operator 9. Minor.
Or the Xeno inside of TFP.
Yep, or this is the baby Xeno. Oh, Operator 9. Hey, Minor. Minor.
Hey, shut the hell up. I didn't do anything wrong.
No, you didn't. Best story I have about TFB is, of course, when we were progging it in Nightmare in 2.0 when Bishop needed to AFK really quickly, and for some reason his keyboard got stuck, and he started on this body type 4 Vanguard tank, just started trotting his happy little butt through the middle of the arena. And we're all yelling at him in Discord or in Ventrilo. Was it TeamSpeak? I think it was TeamSpeak at the time.
Vent.
It was
Moot.
Vent. It was Vent. It was Vent. We're all like, Minor, what are you doing? Bishop, stop! Bishop, stop! And the boss pulls. And then this body type 4 Vanguard is just stuck running against a wall for probably a good minute. And we end up wiping. And then Minor comes back, or Bishop comes back, and he goes, yo, guys, why is everybody dead? Who pulled the boss?
I'm like, where are y'all on the other side of the room? Like, great prank, guy. You got me. You ran. Oh, you're all dead. What's going on?
What's going on? Oh, man.
I was in the middle of a move. I'd set my keyboard down because I was playing on a cardboard box. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't do anything wrong.
No, you didn't, but it was still great. Grumble, grumble, grumble. So, all right. Operator 9. This is what is considered the puzzle boss of Terror from Beyond. So, as you can see, there are 4 cores on each. So there's 2 on each cardinal direction. So if you look at your map here, you're going to have, so northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. And in hard mode and nightmare, we typically categorize them as north and south. So this is north, so up here is north, and then south right here. So when somebody says, so we have to channel, which is why we've all been assigned different colors. Blue goes first, then orange, then purple, then yellow. So most groups, and this is a mechanic in story mode, hard mode, and in nightmare. So most groups will have the left channel, and then the right will stand in the middle. Typically, you want your healers and tanks channeling. So, because in the harder difficulties, you really want the DPS to be in the middle so we can help get rid of the ads. In story mode, it doesn't really matter. So just be aware that that is a thing. Most people don't really care. But in hard mode and nightmare, you definitely want your tanks and your healers channeling, as you need the DPS to help clear up the ads, especially when it comes to the big boys. What are the big boys' names again? Regulators. Thank you. All right. So consoles and mid. So when you're being told to channel, there are 4 consoles here in the middle section. And you have one that corresponds to each color. I can't get to the far ones, unfortunately, without pulling the boss. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're going to all light up with a different color as the different phases go through. So blue is going to start here. Orange will go here. So blue starts at 7. Orange is 11.
There you go.
Purple, thank you very much. Purple is 1 o'clock, and yellow is 4 to 5 o'clock. So those are going to be where the panels are. So whenever it's your turn to channel, you're going to go to the one that corresponds to your color. And then the person in the right corner or the right frame is going to sit in the middle, and you can't step out of the middle while the person is channeling. Otherwise, the channel will break, and the shields around the cores here will go back up, and you can't DPS the cores until the channel begins again. So it is very important, if you are in the middle, to not step out of the middle if you possibly can help it. So, and that is the basic for story mode. In hard mode and in nightmare, as we'll show you, you're going to have an additional mechanic where you're going to have orbs that spawn. And there's going to be 2 orbs per color. Each one of the players in that color has to get one of the orbs for a mechanic in the second phase. So there's 2 phases to this fight. There's going to be the first phase with the cores, and then the second phase with the actual Operator 9. Because this guy, the holographic Gree right here, he's just a hologram. Operator 9 is actually a very, very big droid, and we're going to see him later. So there's going to be ads that spawn during both phases. So tanks, talk to me a little bit about the regulators and how to tank the regulators.
I'm up?
Yes, you're up.
Okay.
Talk to me about regulators, Bishop.
I was watching a video about spiders on drugs. So okay, you know what? There are 2 ways of people initially taking the regulate. There's the first way. Okay, let me actually start like this. So to get aggro of these things, the safest way, like when a regular comes out, you just want to taunt it straight away. It'll be targeting somebody else, like more often than not the person that's channeling, because it wants to dick you over. So the best way is to single target taunt the regulator as soon as it comes out. 2 ways to go about tanking it from there. One is you get really close to it so that it doesn't stun you, and then you kind of dance with it back and bring it back to mid. The other way is you taunt it from far away and you run, and you get stunned, because if you're far away from the regulator, I don't know the exact distance, it's just if you're far away from it, you'll get stunned. What I like to do is I like to taunt him, and then there's like a few seconds that with the speed buff that's in this this fight, I'll run, so I'll be able to get like 37-ish meters away from it. I get stunned, the regulator walks his happy ass over to me and doesn't do anything because he's walking the whole time, and I'm unstunned by the time he gets to me. But that way it gets the regulator to mid faster, gets it where I want it to be stacked up, for whatever else I have to be taken care of. If there's a DPS who's come floating in after DPSing the course, it's closer to them, it's closer to mid. So that's the way I like to do it. You could also taunt it as soon as it comes out and then dance with it back and forth within close range to make sure it doesn't stun you. I don't like that as much. but it's up to you. And then the regulators will have a cast. It's end line. It's 1.5 seconds. You can hydro it. I'm pretty sure you can shroud it. I don't know. I've never actually shrouded it. But the main point is to just interrupt. Using the strat that I do, I'm able to get the first interrupt on my first regulator, as well as the first interrupt on the second regulator that comes out if DPS is low, and that's the whole point. If the DPS is fast, you only get one regulator per orange or yellow phase. If all sorts of them, LSD, marijuana, it doesn't matter. They even tried caffeine on the spiders. So the I don't know what I was saying anymore. I guess I'm on drugs.
It is 420.
Apparently. What was I saying? Holy hell. I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah. If DPS is fast, you'll
regulator.
Yeah. No, that's not it. If DPS is good on the cores, you only get one. If not, you'll get two. And when two come out, the big thing about regulators, aside from the cast, is this big ass attack they do before the end line cast. It can hit like a truck. It's a white damage hit, but it will hurt a lot if you don't mitigate it. So if your DPS is not super fast and you get two regulators, the best way to go about tanking two regulators is to have the second one over to you, and when you're tanking them both, you want to be using a white damage DCD, so like Deflection or Explosive Fuel and Oil Slick or Saber Ward, because that big ass hit they do can be fully mitigated by white damage. Now it is important to make sure that you're not stunned when the regulators come over to you, because if you're stunned you can't defend. So it doesn't matter if you have blade turning going or not, you're going to get hit. So if you are stunned and a regulator is coming over to you and you're not far enough away for the stun to wear out naturally, make sure you have your CC break for that.
Thank you very much for that. Healers, is there anything big about this fight that healers need to be aware of?
Because during purple a healer is channeling, the other healer is solo healing pretty much mid. It's not very heal intensive because all you have is the two little ads, but again, you have to be very comfortable solo healing that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the other issues of healing this fight is aggro issues when you actually have Op 9 out, because I will always, for some reason, be the target of the ads, and if the tanks don't pick them up, I'm all over the place. Just trying not to, because the ads, they have a knockback, they'll keep me from healing. They're just annoying.
One of the big things you do have to be aware of, especially as a tank, is that the ads automatically will go towards the person who is channeling. So you need to make sure that if you're the DPS that's in the middle, you're helping clean up the ads so that way the cast isn't broken. And then the tanks just need to be aware of that the robots are going, the droids are going straight to the channeler. So if a channel is broken because of a droid, you need to just pick that up and take care of it. So let's talk a little bit about second phase. Second phase is musical chairs of colors. So colorful musical chairs. So as you can see on the screen here, there's circles here in the middle that is around the master control, or where Operator 9 is going to spawn. So Operator 9 is going to spawn in this big area right here, and that's where he's going to stay the entire time. There's going to be a point in time where multiple times during phase 2, where he throws a shield up, and then there are going to be colors that appear in each one of these smaller circles in the big circle in the middle. This is present in all difficulties. So you need to find your color, sit in it until the color disappears, and you gain a stack of that color. We're going to be talking orbs here in a little bit. So
there's two of them.
There's two of
Make
them
sure
per
you
color.
Go for both.
Yeah.
Because assume the other person's
dead or isn't paying attention. Just always take the practice of going for both sets. It's just the best way to make sure that both of them. So if both of you have that mindset, if both Bishop and I on Orange have that mindset that I need to make sure to get both colors, usually that it's going to happen. But you absolutely want to make sure that you get all of the colors absorbed right away, because otherwise there's going to be a massive damage that goes out, and in Nightmare it will kill you. So remember, I mentioned briefly in phase 1 in hard mode in Nightmare there's going to be orbs that spawn. This is where those orbs come into play. In story mode, there are no orbs, so you don't have to worry about it. But in hard mode and Nightmare, orbs that spawn that correspond to each color, and there's 2. You can only take 1. That's because in phase 2, in hard mode and Nightmare, Operator 9 does a mechanic called deletion, where he's going to call out a player and a color. So it will say, Lexaeus has been marked for deletion by purple, purple lateral, or some weird green nonsense like that. But that means that, so Operator 9 will target player with color. So that means Lexaeus and Wondershun, because typically for deletions, you have the left column go first, and then the right column will go second. Perpendicular. Reddish rectangle. Orangish octagon. Yellow hexagon. I don't know. We're just throwing I was bad at geometry. So what that means is that the player that's been marked for deletion is going to run immediately under the boss. They're gonna plant their butt right there, and then the person that has the corresponding color is going to stack with the person in the middle until you see the big red text in the middle of the screen that says Wondershun or purple player activated a deletion shield. So, and then there's a cast time that goes out on Operator 9, and once that cast goes out, the deletion protocol engages. If you have the shield, you're safe from it, and you move on with your merry life. If you haven't shielded, usually that means that person is dead. Deletion is... And story...
It's kill target 0 damage. There's nothing you can do about
nothing you can do. If you hear people saying orange is a kill color, it means that both orbs on the orange, so both orange orbs or both orange deletion shields have been used up, or they're dead, or whatever. So that means if orange is a color that is called, you have to run away from the group and just take the death like a man or a woman. Take your pick. So ads also spawn during this time. There is raid-wide damage that goes out, so healers just be aware. It's a pulsating damage. Also in Nightmare, and we're going to show you a little bit more, but you typically do not want to stand inside the circles unless A, it's your color, or B, it's the actual color time, because in Nightmare, if you step into a wrong color, you will die. You'll just go spontaneously combust. Also, you typically don't want to be in the middle, especially during deletion protocols, because you want to make sure that your deletion shield isn't accidentally activated. All right, so those are basically the mechanics. We're going to go ahead and start the fight here. Is there anything from my experts that you want to point out before we pull?
Did you explain the cheese for the...
No. Talk to me a little bit about the deletion cheese.
So, every time that the boss shields on the second phase destroyed, right when his shield comes down, he will do a deletion protocol. It's like 3 seconds in after the shield drops. If the tank, who will either tanks might like asked to do it themselves or be assigned to do it, you will taunt 2 GCDs once the shield comes down, and taunting will basically guarantee that whoever taunted will get called for the color. So let's say
They'll be the target.
Correct. So I'll be the target of the person that has to be saved. I'll be the person that got be saved, or Bishop if he's the one. Basically, you can control who is getting called, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if in some occasions, can help, because say something came out where, let's say I taunted and then someone tried to save me. Like, say Bishop still had his shield, you can save yourself. So Bishop could taunt and just save himself. Assuming we don't have enough shields to save, me, for example. So like you can control who it goes. It's just 2 GCDs into it after the shield break.
Okay, cool. And just a note for DPS, depending on your group comp, it might be better to run burst specs. So I swapped to marksman for this fight. Audrey, are you running deception or are you running hatred?
I run both specs, usually just whatever spec I'm in because I'm lazy and it doesn't matter for this fight.
So your hatred, correct?
Yep.
All right, and then I know my Juggernaut is in Vengeance, and then I know my Mercenary is playing IO. I just went Marksman because I like to play Burst on this fight because there's a lot of target swapping in the first phase, and it's better for the cores in Nightmare. So, but you can run Virulence / Dirty Fighting for this fight if you want to. God, you play Rage Overload.
Engineering.
So you can play Engineering. You just need to, again,
Kill all the orbs.
kill all the orbs. Yeah, the cores typically, especially in Nightmare, run long enough for the dot specs to be fine. So again, you just have to, yeah, you can run Engineering on this fight. Engineering is
You just have to be very,
yeah,
very careful about where you put Plasma Probe.
because especially in the harder difficulties, especially with the orbs will get hit by any AoE, so you really need to be careful about where you place your plasma probes. I would recommend running Virulence or Marksman as a sniper, and then Sharpshooter or Dirty Fighting as a gunslinger for this fight. You can play Engie or Sabo, but you just need to be very, very, very careful about where you place plasma probe in any of the other AoEs. Alrighty.
I mean, you even have to be careful with Virulence, because if the North Orb goes into, like, the group, because the North Orb will, like, kind of go into where the tank regulators, and if you clip the orb with a dot, you're just...
Oh my god.
Whirlwind some cores.
Hell yeah.
Wonder, do it.
Do it, Wonder, do it!
Mistake I see snipers make, though, is they try and diversion the regular. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go break the... Oh, I can't.
Fuck.
That's amazing.
No.
Okay, so hang on before we channel. As you can see, you've got the core, or the channel panel is right here. So Kagi is standing because he's blue. He's standing right there. And then you have Aldria, who's here in the middle.
No.
Right here. Have you guys both gotten your orbs? Yeah, you did. Okay, go ahead and channel.
Hardened Rage.
Hardened Rage.
Yeah.
So I am going to the north core here. One of the things, just
Panic
to,
doesn't apply in hard mode.
what doesn't?
The kill them at the same time.
Yeah.
Nightmare only.
Nightmare only. However, one of the things that I found was a really interesting little trick here was that once you know where the blue core is, or once you've killed the first blue core, the rest of the cores will automatically change clockwise. So you'll get the next one. So here are our orbs. I've gone ahead and aggroed mine, and Lexaeus has aggroed his. And there's the regulator. So I'm going to kill my orb really...
Tab target.
What?
Tab target fail.
Creeping terror.
I tried to tab to the regulator and
I
it
got
moved behind the wall.
Did it again.
So as a ranged DPS, I'm going to help with the regulator here. There was the end of the line channel that we interrupted. Here's another one. So here for orange and yellow, good tanking, guys. The biggest thing is to make sure that we kill these regulators. All right, so orange is done, and now we've moved on to purple. Both of these cores are dead, so that means it's going to be this one for here. In Nightmare, you are going to have a DPS that is assigned as a floater. So, as I can see, this core here is at about 50%, so I'm going to go check on the one...
I have an add-on Wonder.
On South. Well, South is dead, so we're going to go back up to... We're going to go back up to the North core and kill this one. So I'm going to stay up here on North with the Assassin.
Oh, right.
So Kagi is going to go down South.
Tom.
I can't because someone, like, stunned my orb out in the middle of
There we go.
Haha, get fucked.
We are going to fail this one.
Let's try not to fail this.
Channel.
There we go.
I was channeling it. I mean, it's channeling.
Again.
It won't.
There we go.
Oh,
I
it's
was
down
channeling it.
south.
Does not do
Well,
anything.
We're failing yellow.
It's okay. One of the things, though, if you fail a color in hard mode or in story mode, you will get another regulator, which can be bad for your tanks.
It's a rectifier, not a regulator.
Sorry, rectifier, Mobby.
Actually, our DPS is good, so it's fine.
All right, so now we are moving into phase 2. So once again, you want to make sure that you don't stand in the circles.
Nightmare only mechanic, but definitely.
It's
useful.
definitely good practice. So the colors have spawned. I'm going to find my orange colors, and I'm going to go ahead and sit in them until they disappear, and I have a stack of orange convex. All right, Malachar with orange deletions. That's going to be Lexaeus. So as you can see, they moved into the middle. We got the text saying that the deletion shield has been activated, which means that they're safe from deletion. And from here on out, it's just DPS your little heart out. And hope that he doesn't throw his shield up right when you're about to do your,
Ambush.
big ambush.
Thundering blast.
Thundering. Yeah, exactly.
Rocket punch.
Rocket punch. 4-stack.
Energy burst.
Energy burst, yeah.
Oh, you can just do it again.
All right. Now, there are some times where he will say, request, help me, invalid query, resubmit, which means there is no deletion protocol, which is very nice.
And then he will target someone.
Mhm.
In this case, it targeted Tom. Tanks should usually be getting that with a taunt so that it doesn't target DPS and
Yep.
healers, but
Surely, if your aggro is good enough, it should just not matter. But that's something to keep in mind.
Mhm.
Healer, threat, 2 OP, must nerf.
Lexaeus with yellow deletion. So that means Malachar is going to go in.
No!
I see your orb. I didn't see the orb on your debuff bar.
Yeah, I was saying. Honestly, I didn't see it, so I was like.
That's why I went in, because you
Well, you did
didn't have
good.
it.
So as you can see, we didn't have. There was a moment where we didn't realize that we would have a deletion shield. So the person with the other color, with the same color, ran in to make sure that the aggro. To make sure that the deletion protocol didn't go through. And that's something you have to be aware of as you're doing this fight as well. Sometimes everything is not going to go according to plan.
So basically, most of our raids.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can do this with 4 people. They just have to be 1 of each color.
Of each color, exactly.
Mad Dasher or Barrier Red and so.
or just everybody has a cheese. Like
Mhm.
even if you even on Nightmare, if people were to fail the colors, Deception for speed, or actually Hatred for speed even is plenty.
If you're a sword,
you can
just face tank it with bubble.
Yep.
Whoever gets that Iocath helmet, could I grab that from you? I need it for my heal set. My sniper heal set, by the way.
Even Sniper Shield,
Can
we
mitigate some of
didn't
that
have all
damage.
4 we didn't have all 4 colors, so, being a smart sniper, I popped Sniper Shield and everyone got in. And we all had, a sliver of health left, maybe, 15, 20k to continue and kill the boss.
Yeah. So you can survive failing the color phase,
Yes.
even in Nightmare. You just pop the cooldown.
Yes, indeed. So once again, we're back to the Hypergate Vortex trash.
Also known by other naughty names.
Other very, very naughty names. But we're moving on to everyone's favorite boss, Kephess.
For the second time.
For the second time. And not to be the only time.
And it will not be the last either.
Exactly.
We'll probably see him on Duxon.
I would be okay with that. It would be like...
Force Ghost.
It's a Force Ghost, yes!
It's like Yoda.
I mean, they did.
It could be
tease
like a
that-
ghost, like in a Nightmare, like Styrak.
I mean, isn't the tease that Zerka is on Duxon along
Yes.
with a group of Trandoshan hunters or something of the sort?
Oh!
Oh! What happened to you?
Get nerfed.
wonder why are you so bad?
What happened to your god bubble now?
It failed him.
I'm actually going to turn up my audio for this really quickly so people can hear the cutscene. And just by the way, there is a codex entry up here. Not required. Not
You guys are explaining this up here, but
okay.
What was sundered will be made whole. You cannot stop it. Our vision transcends the dark of space. Soon our reach will span the stars. Vessel, open the way.
It's a big armadillo. It is a big ass armadillo. The joke looks different. Alright, this one's everyone's favorite fight here in hard mode and story mode because it's legitimately a tank and spank, and you can get... Yeah, when you wipe on Kephess in Nightmare, you just feel bad about your life. But this is literally just a tank and spank, and you can get some seriously crazy numbers. Alright. Let's talk Kephess. 3 phases to Kephess. Tanks, talk to me a little bit about first phase.
It's all you.
Oh, it's all me?
No.
I didn't think so. Unless Zab is still eating. Zab, talk to me a little bit about tanking first phase.
Okay, so in hard mode, let's see, do you have mechanics in hard mode?
I don't know.
Alright, so I think you just burn him for a little bit here. He's gonna get aggro and then at some point, one of these pillars on the sides will tether to him. You gotta bring him to that pillar basically, and just tank him there. Just you need to keep it near on Nightmare. It'll be a yellow circle if he's outside of that yellow circle. It will not count. He's too far. It will not break the pillar. So it's very good practice to get used to it, so that you don't meme on Nightmare. Basically, you just tank it there, and there'll be tank swaps. So the boss will put a dot on whoever has aggro and the only way to cleanse that dot is with one of the blue circles that spawn. You gotta run through it. If someone else runs through it and eats it, then you're probably dead, and you're gonna yell at them. Basically, you just do that. You just gotta make sure you cleanse it. There's some cheeses that you can do where you can get an orb. If you have an orb on you and then run into it, it'll kill the orb automatically. So if you happen to have an orb, you can delay it, pop a DCD, and then run into it to kill the aid and an orb. Basically, it's just tank and spank and getting the boss towards the tethered pillar, basically, for the first phase.
So in story mode, really a lot of groups tend to actually ignore all mechanics because they're pretty irrelevant and trivial in story mode. In hard mode, you have to actually pay attention, and Nightmare you absolutely have to. But so for DPS, we're going to basically just kind of sit. The first phase for DPS is pretty much a parsing dummy or a target dummy. You just kind of sit there and you hit it. However, in hard mode and in Nightmare, there's going to be a new mechanic that arises where there's going to be 3 orbs that spawn. And after brief period of time, they will aggro onto the nearest player. And if nobody has aggroed onto them, they will aggro onto a healer. So you, especially as ranged DPS, you want to try and make sure that, or melee DPS really, grabs the orbs, and then we drag them over to wherever Kephess is standing, so in case we get tethered. But you want to try and get those orbs down as fast as you can because you will take stacking damage. Whoever's tethered to the orb will take stacking damage. And in Nightmare, I think after like 5 stacks, you just get like one shot. I think if I recall.
No, it'll increasingly keep doing more and more damage until you literally cannot live anymore.
Exactly. So you want to just make sure that you're not taking too much damage. And we want to make sure that we don't get it onto the healers because the healers will have a hard time DPSing down the orb. So, and that's all there is for hard mode and Nightmare for first phase. And then second phase comes at around, what is it, 40% or is it 50%? I think it's 50, right?
Yes.
50%?
Yeah.
50%, Kephess is going to jump straight into the air. And there's going to be a big red circle that appears here. And there are going to be pillars that pop up out of the ground, kind of like doing their own little wave thing. You want to just make sure you're not get knocked back by one of those pillars. And then we're going to continue DPSing him down. There is the mechanic of the nanites, though. So these pillars that you can see here, they're going to become clickable. And in hard mode, this is a mechanic that's in all 3 difficulties. Lots of people tend to ignore it in story mode because it really doesn't do that much damage. But in hard mode and in Nightmare, they do stacking damage. So you want to make sure that you don't ignore that mechanic. So whenever people have stacks of nanites, and it's pretty good, especially if you're unfamiliar with this fight, to have the debuffs on your bar set up pretty high so you can see who has the nanites. Once in hard mode and in Nightmare, you have 3 sets of the nanites go out, so all but one person, usually, it's one person, right, will get the nanites. Everyone, the raid lead or the person who is in charge of calling, will call out to channel. Everyone who has nanites is going to click one of these towers, and we're going to wait. In hard mode, it's the last person to leave to break the channel when the tower falls down. In Nightmare, it's the first person to break the channel where the tower falls. You want to be careful at this moment in time because during phase 2, Kephess will be cosplaying as a bunny, and he will be jumping up and down. So he's going to jump into the air and target a single player. That player is going to have a medium-sized red circle appear under them, and then he's going to launch straight back onto them, deal pretty decent amount of damage, and then he's going to move on with his life. If for snipers and gunslingers, we can hunker down, slash, and trench. You can force speed as an assassin. I think you can reflect as a merc, right? Or I know you can. Yeah, and then you can definitely hydro or hold the line as troopers and bounty hunters.
Wait, for what?
For the leap in second phase.
Well, Hydra's isn't going to help with the damage.
No, but it'll help with the stun and the
Will it?
knockback. I think. I haven't played a merc in years, so I can't tell you.
I mean, if you're trying to farm, you don't actually do any damage at all. It still goes to your DPS.
Yeah. So, operatives, power techs. Power techs can use energy shield, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Because we are.
And
Right.
juggernauts, can they use saber ward or reflect or invincible or?
They usually just use your threatening scream with the AoE damage reduction, and
you're golden. Okay.
in
Cool.
the first
Really?
phase. Also, when Kephess does his attack on a beam, a Juggernaut can stand in between Kephess and the guy getting the beam and reflect the damage. Well, not reflect the damage, but it'll negate the damage to the person.
Well, thank you very much. That's a nice thing to know. Shield probe. What about operatives and shield probe for the leap in hard mode and Nightmare phase 2? It will help with the damage, but in Nightmare especially, it does a lot of damage. So,
For operative, I keep
Shield
stim
probe.
boost as a defensive
so stim boost and shield probe then.
utility.
You can live with shield probe if you're at full health.
Yeah. So
Pretty
if you're
much,
under full
yeah,
health as an
stacks.
operative, you will not live with just shield probe.
If you're concealment, just roll it.
Yeah, if you're concealment, just roll it. But if you're a healer or if you're a lethality, you're gonna have a bad time. So also in phase 2, there's going to be a mechanic called the radioactive barrage that's going to target one solitary player. You just want to make sure that if you're that player targeted with radioactive barrage, I know you do. You just want to make sure that you're away from the group. You'll take damage, so you just want to kite it around until the channel is done and call it a day. Phase 3. Phase 3 is burn phase. That happens at 10%. So you're going to have, it's both tanks and one healer, right? Or both tanks and both healers stand out for the burn?
Just tanks.
Both, just tanks? Okay. So both tanks, everyone else is going to stack on the boss. So let's say if the boss goes into burn here, everyone minus the tanks are going to stack here on the boss. If you have a sniper, this is a great place to pop sniper shield if you haven't had to use it before. Pop your defensives, hunker down, entrench, shield probe, cloud mind. So any of your defensives, especially with AoE defensives, you want to just pop them here to make your healers' lives a little bit easier. They're going to be yellow circles that spawn on the ground, or orange circles that spawn on the ground. You want to make sure you're not standing in that. And then tanks are going to be kiting outside, I think it's 15 meters, 10 or 15 meters away from the boss.
So you stack on the melee.
You usually just stack, well, aren't you cool?
Kill them.
But if you're doing this correctly,
just kite like a
and because he's going to be doing damage to the people that are outside of his hitbox range. But that's just burn phase. So you want to pop raid buffs. You want to pop adrenals there. So is there anything there? Kephess really is not a hard boss. In Nightmare, he just deals a lot more damage. So is there anything in particular in any of my experts that would like to bring up for this particular fight?
Healer cheeses for orbs. If you do happen to get them, ops can stealth them out. Sages can bubble. Merc.
You can reflect it, right?
No, I would not reflect it. You better save it for the beam. But you can energy shield it, and you'll just have to kill it yourself. Like DPS and you're lucky. Like mercs are lucky to have like the best healer DPS, so they don't have it too bad compared to operative or Sork. If you have to kill your as a Sork, if you're gonna try to cheese it, you do not want to break the cast immediately. You need to cast it for at least 1 GCD or so. If you like cast it, like if you start a channel and break it immediately, it'll be too quick and it will not disappear. I figured out the hard way.
All right, let's get this show on the road. I love Kephess. You can get some crazy numbers. And just
Takes like triple when he's knocked down. It's
yeah,
great.
just by the way, if you go back here and run into this gate here, there is a codex entry for Gree Hypergate. So just BT dubs. That's a thing.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right.
3, 2, 1.
Juan. So there's that big blue circle. That is going to be for the tank, so I'm going to avoid stepping in it. So right now this is just a tank and spank phase. Here's the tether is coming up pretty shortly. Tether has been activated over there. In hard mode there's only 2 orbs. So I've got that second orb. There we go. Perfect. So I'm just going to DPS this one down here. But I'm also going to stack with the group.
There, the tank got the debuff
Adria.
from the boss, so it'll go to me.
So there is a laser buff that's going out. You want to aim it at the tower, because the tower will get knocked down, and he'll take 4 stacks, 4 times the amount of damage. Woo! Killed rank up.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
No. Bitch.
No. It's my 63k Firestorm.
63k Firestorm? Tom.
Well, usually the tank can stand with the person being cleaved to help mitigate.
Not if I'm going out for real and rattle.
So he's going to be, yep. So he's going to be jumping up. So
Jump
there's
up,
the
jump
reds
up and get
Wow,
down.
so fast.
from the window to the wall. So that's what happens if you get hit by one of the pillars. You get knocked up. Ask if it's a boy or a girl.
Writhing Horror.
Why are you stealing my lines?
So as you can see, the towers have become clickable.
Not click.
Do
Only
not
one?
click. Only one? Really? It's only one in hard mode?
The hell? Why are you just click?
Two
Nope,
people
there it
have
is.
nanites, yeah.
2 people have nanites.
Break
So
it. There we go.
usually you wait for 2 rounds of nanites to go out, not
Yep.
2 stacks.
2
So-
rounds of nanites to go out.
So you just usually we do 2, 1, 2, depending on our DPS. Looks like here we're only gonna be able to fit another one. So come over here, Alder, and we'll click in a moment. Just go ahead. Wait for the jump. Actually,
He just did it.
No,
No,
no
you-
point.
never mind.
So
And
we're
we
about
just
to go
burn
into
here.
burn phase. So this is burn phase right here.
Which is gonna last all of like 8 seconds.
Yep. So we're all gonna stack up here. I would normally pop sniper bubble here, but he's dead, so I don't have to
20K
worry. Wow,
That's it?
crazy. That's it.
I did,
Man.
Oh, I did 9K.
Not bad.
16k. Full.
If I can just mention for like when we go into 6.0 and like gearing, if it stays the same way as 5.0 where like ops drop gear and tokens and TFB is really important because it drops 2 important left sides. It drops implants and relics.
Yes.
So for your prog group to understand this op and be able to have it on farm will help you gear your team quicker.
A lot faster.
And that's also to go with like SNV whenever we get to it. It also drops implants and relics. Those 2 ops along with I believe EC drops implants and relics. Those 3 ops as far as gearing left side individual tunes are important for prog groups to have on farm.
That is a very great point. Thank you so much. Also, by the way, if anybody got the IOCath helmet, could I grab that from you? Por favor.
I'll pay anyone to not give it to her.
Oh, wow,
Yep.
you're so mean.
That's I've been told. Yeah.
Wow. My feels, they are hurt.
You got it. Or you got the implant.
I got the implant. I'll trade you the implant for the headpiece.
No, I don't. I don't need it. I got.
So left side, when anybody talks about left side, we're talking about implants, earpiece, and relics. Things that are not currently legacy bound, which will change in 6.0. So excited. I'm so happy about it. All right. So Terror from Beyond. We are now at the last boss and the titular boss of this fight or this operation. So lots of phases in this fight. There's going to be, so first phase lasts from 100% to 50%. There's going to be tentacles that spawn out of the ground in different locations. So it's going to be middle, far, middle. You typically only want 3 because in Nightmare there is a hard DPS check and the tentacles will enrage and they hit like trucks and it's not pleasant and people die and all that jazz. So if your DPS is good, you want no more than 3. If your DPS is bad, I don't know what to tell you really.
Wipe it.
Wipe it.
Yep.
Wipe it. Okay, so for the first phase from 100% to 50%, and these are applicable for all 3 difficulties, you're going to start here in the middle where the tank and heal markers are. So as you can see, we have been separated by column. So the column with Lexaeus, Lemon Peel, Cruella, and Wondershun are going to be on the left tentacle and left side. Malachar, Audria, myself, and Lilith are going to be on the right side. So we're going to be focused on trying to DPS the tentacles down as evenly as we possibly can. And you will have some inconsistencies with that because of just your DPS comp, range to melee. So there are a lot of factors that go into it, but you want to try and DPS them down as much as possibly can, as evenly as you can. A couple of things you have to worry about in this phase to worry about is Hypergate beacons in hard mode and nightmare, and ads in story mode, hard mode, and nightmare. So the ads will pop out from where we're pretty much standing. It's going to be 2 ads that 2 larvae that spawn usually here and right about here. your DPS want to go ahead and swap to it. In hard mode and nightmare, usually we have one on each side. So usually that's the melee that will go and kill the tentacle and the beacon. In story mode, it doesn't really matter. You can have everybody swap to all of your DPS on each side swap to it. You can have just one person. As long as it dies, though, that's the important thing, because it automatically aggroes to the tank that's on that, or whoever is aggroed onto the tentacle at the time of the larva spawn. And if it reaches the tank or the person who is aggroed, they will explode, and it can kill a tank at full health, right? In Nightmare?
In hard mode, it only takes like 60% of your health. In Nightmare, it is a 0 damage kill, so it's a one shot. You cannot resist it, you cannot mitigate it, you cannot do anything.
Right, so you definitely want to make sure that the ads die. So, in hard mode and in nightmare, there is another mechanic called a hypergate beacon. It can spawn in one of 3 places: here in the middle, to the right, or to the left. Typically, those are rough positionings. What you want to do is, there's going to be this blue kind of, we call them swirlies, and that's probably not the official name.
They're called swirlies.
They're called swirlies. Okay. There's going to be a little blue swirling, just it kind of cloud just kind of hovers on either left side or right side. Typically, you want your melee to get it, because then it increases their damage done by how many percent? Well, anyway, it's a ridiculous amount of damage that you can do.
It doesn't increase.
The swirly works as in Nightmare. In hard mode, I don't know how it works. It doesn't really do much.
It doesn't have stacks.
Yeah. In Nightmare, basically every time it builds a stack, it does an AoE single hit to everything around you. So the best place to use the swirly is on you jump to the ads and you use it on the 2 ads, because then you're hitting 2 targets instead of 1. That's definitely the best place to use it.
In Nightmare, though, you have to make sure to cleanse it, because it will kill somebody. It will kill the person with the
if it were to build 5 stacks, it insta kills you.
Instant kills you. So, yeah. So, we do that 3 times. So, in hard mode and nightmare, you want to start getting into the routine of, after the first tentacle is down, everybody once the tentacles die, the boss will spawn larva from here. We don't know if it's a male or a female, but we're gonna just assume that it's a female. And the birthed larvae are going to come to the outside of the arena. They're going to go straight to the water. You want to avoid those, find the spaces in between, because they will do the same thing as the larva that comes during the tentacle. They will explode, and it's hysterical, and memes happen. So during this, right before the second tentacle spawns, you want to get into the routine of having everyone come into the middle for raid buffs and the harder difficulty, so hard mode and nightmare especially, before separating, because you're not going to be able to reach each other when you guys are at the far end. So we're going to do the tentacle dance 3 times, and we've all seen enough anime to know where that's going. So we're going to do that 3 times, and then we're going to go into the next phase inside the hypergate. So that one is a little bit harder to explain without seeing it, because there's not it. So we're just actually going to go ahead and pull, and we're going to talk you through the fight as we're pulling it.
Just one thing that I love to note for Assassin, Force Speed is basically God mode in this fight, and pretty much every source of damage that can hit you as a DPS can be completely mitigated by Force Speed.
The big slams from the tentacles you can reflect as a juggernaut.
Yep, and tanks, talk to me a little bit about slams. Also, Tom, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. While we're pulling, talk to me a little bit about slams and
Oh no, everything's out of whack.
oh no.
So slams the way it'll work. The first time they spawn, they will do 9 slaps, and then the 10th slap will be a slam. Slams are 4-stack attacks, meaning you can charge them with rebounder them, just force speed them. Usually, at the start, I would recommend counting the slaps, so you know when to like use the DCD, force speed or whatever. The more you do it, the more you will
Beacon.
not have to do it, or like count. You'll just Jesus Christ.
Wow,
That thing got melted! What the heck?
Stop that.
Oh.
I didn't have
Basically, ideally you want to like not eat a slam without a DCD, but you cannot blow all your DCDs in one tentacle. You gotta
Or sub.
save some for the other tentacle or sub. Okay.
Memes
you-
coming up.
You will, for classes that are not assassin, you will have to.
No damage.
That's good. You will have to, like, just pray that you shield, and hope that your healer doesn't hate you too much.
I don't hate you, Zap.
He just mildly dislikes you. So during this phase, you're actually gonna want to have your healers stack out. There's gonna be Fastic Spittle, I think it's called. Phasic Spittle, Fastic Spittle. I like Fastic better. Beacon. Because that will do damage to you as you stand in it. So you want to make sure you have the healers standing outside of the hitbox to bait the spit. Everyone else needs to be stacking on the tentacles hitbox. You're going to have this buff that looks like a curved stick. It's called Tentacle Proximity. That's when you know you're in the safe zone. Yeah, we're good here.
The other thing about healers and standing out and kiting is you need to keep the tentacle in between you, or else TFB is going to smack you.
Also, you don't want to sit in the middle because the terror will smack you from there.
Basically, if you're not line of sighting terror with the tentacle, you don't have the debuff on you, or you're not debuff. You won't be covered. So when terror slams settings every 30 seconds, something like that, 25 seconds, you will get slammed. And in Nightmare, it hits for like 50k, so like half of your health.
Beacon.
So if you have a swirly, and you get slammed, you will be global no matter like if you're a tank. If you're a tank, you may survive, but it's still unlikely. So I generally try to avoid that or have a DCD going.
So as
Honestly, I don't care.
yeah. Wow, thanks. Love you too.
What's up, right?
We're done.
Oh, well,
All right, so
I don't
now
know
we are
about that
moving
one.
into.
I know.
Oh,
no.
nope. It was
No,
like,
not up.
right at it.
Have to heal and rage.
Oh no! What will we do? Okay, so we accidentally got a fourth.
Just heartburn one side. It don't matter now.
Yeah. So we
Only
accidentally
four.
got a fourth set of tentacles. A Nightmare, that's an Enrage, and it's actually a wipe. So, but since this is in hard mode and story mode, not so much. But we're just going to burn the tentacles really, really quickly.
The strat in story mode is literally just all hit one side because it literally does not matter.
Yeah, in story mode, everybody pretty much Beacon. Everyone just focuses on on one tentacle in story mode.
Just a tip for operatives: if you like tab target to the tentacle
Or
and
sub.
then do your photo waves, you'll get everything. Instead of trying to single target just the melee and the tank being missed, if you just tab target to the tentacle.
Yeah, he's enraged now.
That's normal.
Yep.
I got the
That
boss.
happens in Nightmare every time.
Yep, all right.
on the
So, welcome to second and third phase. So, this is the actual terror fight. So, you see, there's going to be all of these platforms here. There's going to be portals. I'm going to go ahead and jump off of yours, Wonder.
We can ignore anomalies.
Yeah, we're going to ignore anomalies. Well, actually, I'm not, because I'm sitting right in front of one, so...
They despawn in a few seconds.
Well, I'm just going to pew-pew it anyway.
Go for it.
I am. So, Tanks, talk to me a little bit about tanking this fight in second phase.
So here, usually the tank is assigned to the right side. will start tanking first, so the tank on the left side can just DPS the enemy. So here, all you're doing is you count. So the first time you tank him, is it 7, and then the 8 will be 7, so it'll be 7 slams, and then a spit. So holy shit, we pushed.
This has no health in hard mode.
That was one screen. You just count to 7 and then just move to the platform. So there are 4 platforms that the tentacles spawn. You will be dropping your spit on the platform. There are no tentacles during that phase, so you alternate. You just drop there, and usually you tell your co-tank that spit happened. All got the boss because you're dead.
So as you can see, so there's the tank that's currently having aggro on the terror. He is standing on this platform right here, and is just holding aggro. Spit should be coming momentarily. Okay, so typically you don't want to do that. So there's the spit
Right.
on that platform. You don't want to sit in that because that's the exact same spit that happened in the first phase, and that hurts because the tank gets a debuff called Scream or Faded Reality. You have lost grasp on the reality. Damage taken increased by 200%. So you kind of don't.
Do anomalies now.
We have to do anomalies now. All right.
Oh, that's just because that's because Zanier's up there showing the fight.
Yep.
And not DPS. It's fine. The last tentacle's about to die, so they'll all despawn.
So, in hard mode and in Nightmare, there are these things called hypergate anomalies that you will have to have somebody go, and we call them hunting. Usually that's a power tech, a juggernaut, something with a high amount of burst.
It's not really why.
Not really why?
So the
It's
reason
whoever's not good at killing tentacles.
whoever has the class that was not able to eat slams, if we have a merc or a PT, those usually will be the ones hunting.
Racist.
Or if not, it'll be whoever has the worst ones, or sometimes depending on whoever is the least or the most new to the fight or less
Yeah.
to the fight. But mainly, if everyone's fairly equal, it's usually by whoever can eat the least slams.
So power techs, operatives, all that good stuff. As you saw in between those phases, once the tentacles die, in all modes, there's going to be something called irregularities that spawn across the entire arena, and you have to hunt them down. And you have to hunt them down as quickly as you possibly can, because otherwise they start doing pulsating
Take it.
AoE damage.
Happy and angry, and then it hurts.
And then it hurts. One of the things is that it looks like I'm not able to reach the boss, but the thing is that you're actually able to reach. There is because we're in the hypergate, it's called Captured in the Void. The laws of physics do not apply here. Maximum range of all healing, shielding, and resurrection abilities are greatly increased. Wow, we've pushed already. We are in burn phase right now.
Unfortunate, to say the least.
You're not gonna taunt, are you? Yep, you're bid.
So he goes into burn phase again after, or she goes into burn phase after 3 sets of tentacles as well. Please leave me alone. Everyone needs to find their own platform.
Oh, there's still spit there.
No! Coggy
Aren't we
Woggy!
supposed to get... Okay.
I think we all died, didn't we? 3 anomalies in burn phase, that's amazing.
I'm dead inside. I'm confused.
I don't need to know how you feel about your life. I'm sorry.
No, I'm dead inside the phase.
And we are stuck in combat. How
Still
lovely.
out. Wait, no, never mind. Fuck. Everyone stuck it. Actually,
I didn't get no
first.
loot.
Well, there's nothing that really drops here. There's no components for you to pick up. Assassins were best tank. So, that went a lot faster second and third phase than I anticipated.
Yeah, there's like
Nothing
no
has
chance to
health in hard
explain.
mode.
Yeah. We didn't really get a chance to explain all of the things, including like stealth reses, but it's a little bit longer on Nightmare, which we are about to go into, so we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. All right, guys, you ready for a From Beyond run?
Yeah, after a 2-hour break.
No.
We'll be right back after a word from
our sponsors.
And we're gonna really tank with Bishop.
Yes, you really have to tank with Bishop.
Why though?
I'm gonna kill you.
Just by the way, and I totally forgot to mention this at the beginning. Rip, place target again. To pick up, there is a story mode or story mission. There is a story mission, and you can pick it up from this gentleman right here, Colonel Jadek. And then you also turn this mission in at the same place. So, if you want to see what's going on in the world of Assation and why exactly we're going into Assation, this is the person to talk to.
Right back.
While we're reforming for Nightmare, does anyone from chat have any questions for the experts regarding roles, disciplines, talents, rotation, gearing? Is there anything from chat that I can direct towards the experts? This is the time to ask. And I